Welcome to the 10 and 2 podcast. I'm Kat.
I'm Catlin.
And we're here every week talking watches, photography, adventure, and exploring the world of horology.
How are you, Kat?
I'm good.
Yeah?
It's been a fun day.
It's been a long but fun day.
Mm-hmm.
Also, shout out to energy drinks because...
Yeah, that I just spilled all over our podcast table.
It's fine.
My bad. It's going to smell like, what is it? Froze rose?
Froze rose, I think. Yeah. Or rose. Yeah, I don't know. Whatever the flavor of this Bang energy drink is.
The Bang energy drink was banging.
It was. I had what did I have? Bang and berry.
Bang and berry. Yeah, I try to stay away from those, man, but those things, no joke, got me through college. And that's bad to say because they're terrible for you. And I didn't drink one every day. The nights that I was up studying for my exams, that was what I had in the morning. And thank goodness, because coffee just doesn't do it for me. Like I have to have something extra.
Well, this is also our fourth recording of the day. So that shows how long of a day we've had.
Yeah.
So some energy was much needed.
Yeah.
And like you said, sometimes, the coffee just doesn't hit just right. So
I do like coffee. It's got to be really, really strong to actually pump me up.
Yeah. I'm in it more for the flavor.
Yeah. I just like to enjoy just sipping on coffee.
I'm kind of loving that it's starting to get chilly because I don't drink hot coffee very often. I drink a lot of, in the mornings, my coffee it's black coffee, but then I mix it with my protein shake and I ice it. So
is your protein shake vanilla?
Yeah, it's just a vanilla water-based protein powder. And then that's just what I do with my post-workdown. And then I just add black coffee and ice to it. Just something a little bit different.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, and then my midday coffee is usually a trip to Starbucks for some ice something or other that has way too much sugar in it. But now it's warm, so that first hot pumpkin spice latte. I know I'm basic, y'all. It's okay. I'll admit it.
I can't do the pumpkin stuff.
Oh,
I like cinnamon.
I just like discovered pumpkin recently. I just assumed, I guess, that I didn't like pumpkin, or maybe I tried it when I was a kid. No, you know what? Growing up, my mom never made pumpkin anything. But I had my first slice of pumpkin pie last year.
Wow.
And it was life-changing. And then now I just make pumpkin pie. I'm very excited for this time of year. So I'm ready to start baking pumpkin pies. And it's not even Thanksgiving. Why do we only have it this time of year?
I don't know. I'm not really, I'm just a tradition.
I don't know. I should make a pumpkin pie in June.
Yeah.
For no reason.
Do it.
Yellow. Okay, so coffee, pie, pumpkin.
Oh, coffee and pie would be amazing right now.
All right, so the next recording we do, I'm going to bring over a pumpkin pie and we're going to have some coffee.
That sounds amazing. We probably have a food coma while we're recording. There goes all the energy. Oh, but I'm excited. It's been a heck of the last couple weeks. By the time I guess this comes out, but we are here to bring you a ray of sunshine to your day, no matter what's going on.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like it.
We're going to pretend that everything's fine for a little bit.
Clearly, we're recording this during the election season, but it's fine. We're not even going to talk about that.
It's fine. The world's fine.
It's all good. Ignorant bubble, and our studio is like a bubble of peace. So
it's we're just going to zen out, talk about watches.
And I'm excited because we weren't initially going to do a podcast review of this watch.
No, I think we got it in, and the Formex guys, thankfully they were just they sent it to us just to get some hands-on experience. Yeah. We've talked about it for a while. They were super nice, and they just had this release not that long ago, and there was no, we didn't promise to do a review, not a write-up. We literally just wanted to see it, and they were so nice to send us a green model. I don't think there's an actual name to it. I don't think they named the green.
I don't think so. It's just the green dial, green bezel.
Yeah, and which I'm kind of glad that we got green because I'm obsessed with green. But I was telling you that I really, really liked it.
Yeah.
in my opinion in the beginning was not that I really, really liked it. So,
well, and this is the thing with these podcast reviews is, I mean, by now you guys have listened to enough of these. Y'all know we're not overly negative people. That's just inherently not who we are. So as far as doing a podcast review, we will not do a podcast review on a watch that we don't actually like, because I just don't want to. It doesn't benefit anybody just to listen to two people talk crap about a watch. That's just not who we are. So like once I knew Kat was on board with this one, I was like, all right, let's do a podcast review.
Yeah. And I know some people are like, well, you need to be honest. You guys need to be
This
more
is us honest.
This is us honest. And the thing is, we're both, no matter what you tell us, like we're just not negative people. We can't. I don't want to be that way, and so we'd rather just not even do not even do a podcast or not do a review if it's something that we both just don't like.
Yeah,
we appreciate all. We've had brands that have sent us stuff, and we just didn't do a review on it because maybe we just felt like it wasn't something that we felt like we could say good things about.
Yeah,
and so at the same time, we're very honest with our reviews, and there's things that we both could change or would want to change about it. And we'll get into that here in a little bit. But So
without further ado, we are reviewing the Formex Reef Diver. I don't think we even said which watch it was.
My bad. Oh, I think I did mention it was the Reef.
Okay. I've already forgotten. That's where we're at in today. So enjoy, y'all. But yeah, we're reviewing the Formex Reef Diver, which was just announced just a month ago, maybe.
Yeah,
maybe
because they're still in pre-order stage right now.
Oh yeah, they are, right. Which, I mean, it's crazy different from Formex. I'm super excited. We've talked about Formex a dozen times on the podcast. So to finally get some hands-on experience with one of their watches and get a better understanding of what they're all about is really, really awesome.
Yeah. Well, we're going to go over a little bit of the specs really quick, and then we'll get into our review. And then we even have some questions we're going to answer at the end that you guys have sent in about the watch. So
for sure.
I think if it goes well, we'll start doing that a little bit here and there.
Yeah. I think that maybe people might have a specific question that we don't talk about during our review. So it's nice to just kind of get that answered. And if one person has that question, then I'll guarantee somebody else
probably.
Too,
Probably so. All right. Well, going over the specs, this watch comes in. It is a dive watch. And again, pictures and everything are on our website. Click the link and you'll see all of our fantastic pics that we took of this thing because it is pretty awesome. Comes in at 42 millimeters. It is 11.4 millimeters thick. It has a 22 millimeter lug width, 47 lug to lug, which is really important. I think that tends to be the more important number to me than the actual diameter of the watch. Now, if you're talking about a 48 millimeter diameter watch, then yeah, that is kind of important. But lug to lug is super, super relative, especially for smaller wristed people. And then it is a 300 meter water resistant watch. Now inside, it is run by a Sellita SW300, but that's also cost certified, and that has a 42-hour power reserve. The dial on these are fantastic. They actually feature a degradé dial that is brushed and similar to what we've kind of saw with the Manta, a little bit differently done. It doesn't look the same by any means, but it's the same process. And then here we also feature, of course, 316L stainless steel case, bracelet, sapphire crystal that does have an anti-reflective treatment on it, an incredible micro adjust clasp that you would hope to have on any sort of diver like this. And then there's 4 different dial colors along with 4 different bezel options. So, and you can actually mix and match these on their website. And you can actually have a choice between a rubber strap or a bracelet. But let me tell you right now, you should definitely get the bracelet.
Well, so that gives you 32 possibilities. And which is a lot, but I kind of enjoy that. For me, I'm more of a like keep everything the same color kind of person. But I see, when you look on their website, you can really play around with it. And some of these combinations that you can come up with are really quite cool. So.
Yeah, so the bezel is actually, I'm going to probably mispronounce this, zirconium oxide ceramic bezel. And then there also is a stainless steel bezel option too that's in there. And again, stainless steel bracelet, or you have a choice on rubber. And the price comes in at?
It's right under $1,800.
Okay, cool.
On the bracelet. So I think it's going to be a little bit less if you do the rubber strap.
The rubber strap.
So,
that's all the highlights. Again, we got the green dialed, the green, the blue, and the gray. It's kind of a gray color. All have that degradé, and it's just really, really well done. And something that you don't really see on a dive watch, really.
Yeah. No, I agree. It's a little bit of fanciness to what would usually be a very rugged. This is a very rugged and sporty dive watch. And we'll talk a bit more about that when we talk about versatility. But yeah, it's a 60 click action bezel. It's also one of the other details I'm trying to like look in the light. Another really great little detail for us watch nerds, because we're the only people who care about these sorts of things, matching date wheels.
Oh, nice.
On all the models. So when you look on their website and when you look at the different dials, the blue has a blue date wheel. The green that we have in has a green date wheel. Yeah, it's one of those little details that you don't see a lot of, but you know who does those little details are micro brands. And I freaking love that.
Yeah.
So,
well, I think they don't have room for error. So they know that micro brands in general are usually sought after by, people in the hobby. And, we're picky about those little things. So it's always good to see that they take notice to that.
I agree.
Cool. Well,
do we want to get into the review?
Yeah,
right?
Let's do it.
All right. So we just, if this is your first review episode, welcome. Basically, that's the only facts you're going to hear. The rest of it is just our opinions about the watch. We ask ourselves a few questions every time that we would personally purchase a watch. So that's what we're going to talk about now.
Yeah.
And the first one is what our favorite and least favorite features are.
Yeah.
So Kat, what is your favorite feature on the Reef Diver?
So my favorite feature is the bracelet. I think they got all the details right on this model. The bracelet manages to be thin, yet it's not lightweight, and it can handle because we'll talk about the weight of this watch. It is heavy. And so a lot of times with these heavier watches, there's a bracelet on it that's either too thin or it's too thick because they've kind of overcompensated.
Yeah.
And I think they did a really good job at making it thin, making it very wearable, very comfortable, but yet at the same time, it's hefty enough to handle the weight of the watch case. And they've got these incredible beveled edges that they've done. It's a very utilitarian watch. It's a tool watch, but there is some little polishing here and there that just brings it up a notch.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's my favorite thing.
I agree. It's a very comfortable bracelet to wear on the wrist, especially because it is a heavy watch. You don't want a bracelet that's going to be just as heavy.
Yeah.
But it needs to be able to withstand the weight and just kind of the wearability. I definitely agree.
Yeah. What about you? What's your favorite thing?
I love the bezel. So the ceramic bezel, it's hard to describe in words. But so the graduations and the numbers are actually laser engraved onto with the ceramic. So the rest of the bezel has like kind of this recess, and then the numerals are going to be raised up. There's also a contrast here. So you have like the whole bezel is more of a matte finish, which I definitely like in a sportier dive watch, but then you have a really high polish finish on the numerals. So there is some contrast, even though they're the exact same color. And what's really, I think that this is a really great detail is so it takes 60 minutes to engrave these bezels to be able to withstand, to be able to get that 3-dimensional effect. And I just think, again, like, what we've talked about with microbrands before is it's the attention to little details, because microbrands are really more of an enthusiast brand. They're enthusiast driven. So attention to detail is very important. All right.
That's very cool. Bezel is pretty awesome on it.
It's really cool for sure. Least favorite feature, Kat, what do you got?
So my least favorite feature is the case shape. And when I say the case shape, it's the bulge on the 9 o'clock side of the watch. I know that they were trying to be symmetrical in that, they have big crown guards, and on the opposite end, they kind of wanted the case to match that.
Yeah.
I get it. I just don't like it. It makes the watch wear a little bit more bulky for me on my wrist. It's not a design choice that I would have done. So if I'm being nitpicky, that would be one thing that I would change for sure.
And that's fair. Yeah. It's a very distinct design. Like for me, I do like the little bit of the balance.
Yeah,
but it's very distinct.
Well, and to be fair to Formex, like I don't like that on any watches that tend to do that. Yeah, it's just kind of my thing.
Yeah,
I just don't like it.
But it does. I mean, I'll say on the wrist, it makes it wear much larger than 42 millimeters. That's for sure. Because I have the Planet Ocean in 42 millimeters, and it seems so much smaller compared to this.
Yeah.
Not saying that it's not wearable, but it definitely wears larger. For sure.
What about you? What's your least favorite thing?
Equally the bezel. Not equally. It's just a nitpicky thing.
So the bezel was your favorite thing, and it's also your least favorite.
It's also my least favorite. And it's not like I love the aesthetics of the bezel. I think it creates such a unique contrast, especially when you compare it with the dial. But the bezel, the grip on the bezel, and this was like, I think it's one of the first things you said about this watch when we opened it, was you were talking about the grip. And then because we're really into dive watches, like you and I are. And so we have a collection of them, and we've gone through a collection of dive watches. So I like the thinness of it. I really do. Like it's for a beefy dive watch, it wears relatively thin. It is relatively thin, but that thinner bezel can be a little bit harder to turn. And I mean, we have, I don't know, average size fingers. I don't know.
Yeah, I think we're average. I don't think we're tiny by any means.
Yeah. Our fingers aren't tiny, but also they're not larger. And I feel like if you have like larger fingers, it can be a little bit more difficult to grip.
Yeah.
The action and all that is fine. This has nothing to do with the click action, anything like that. It's just literally the ease. And this is, again, me being nitpicky.
Yeah.
It wouldn't keep me from buying this watch
Well,
at all.
It's the same with my Tudor or my Harrods. I have a really hard time turning that bezel just because it is so thin. That unless like if my hands are sweaty at all, it's very hard to turn. So
for sure.
It's just one of those things, and it's not that important in the grand scheme of things because we're not diving or anything like that. But
it's my fidget spinner.
It's your fidget spinner. For me, I use my dive bezel now day to day. It just kind of keeps me on track with things. So it's something that even if I'm not a diver, it is important to me. So
no, I agree.
I understand that. I get it.
Okay.
Cool. Okay, so how versatile do you think the watch is? And who do you think this watch is designed for, its purpose, and all that?
Well, so versatility, I started the out of 10 scale, so that's where I'm keeping it.
Yeah, I think we were just like, we're going on that now.
Okay. Out of 10, I give it a 6 out of 10, but the reality, it's a dive watch. It suits its purpose as a dive watch. There's nothing about this watch that looks like it would go with a tuxedo or a suit or something like that. Given I would still wear it with a suit or whatever, but that's just how I am. I like the hypocrisy of it. But it's a sports watch at heart. Yes. And Kat talked about this earlier. It has really nice high polished details and those accents that to me elevate it at its price point and things like that. That's what I expect to see, but it doesn't make it dressy in the least sense. So it's definitely a true dive watch. It suits that purpose perfectly. As far as who I can see it for, I think that this is definitely going to be somebody. It's probably not your first watch that you're purchasing for sure, because it is a little bit more of a particular look. But I think watch enthusiasts can appreciate the little details that are on this watch. And I think that's kind of what Formex markets their watches for in general. I think that it's very enthusiast driven as far as the branding and things like that, and just seeing their collection in the past. So what about you? Versatility and all that? How do you feel?
So I gave it a 7 out of 10, just a little bit higher. Again, it's a fantastic dive watch. I think legibility can be maybe a slight issue with the bezel, just because it doesn't, normally with ceramic bezels, you'll see a solid color and then the numerals are actually white or, they stand out a little bit more.
Right.
Not so much in this case, but I think for the average person that isn't actually diving, that it's fine. It's totally fine. And actually aesthetically, it looks really, really cool. So I'm not going to knock them for that. Again, I don't think it's not the dressier diver. It's not like, the Submariner and some of the other divers that you can wear with a suit or something like that. I think this is very tool-like in that is going to play that. It plays that part extremely well. And again, like we mentioned, or like you mentioned, Formex markets them that way. And it's not a negative. I don't really view it as a negative. It's not the most versatile watch in your collection, but you kind of know that going into it. And I want to give a shout out real quick to Ty Alexander, which I didn't notice when I went to Formex's website. He did all the marketing photos.
Yes.
And he's just a phenomenal photographer. And kudos to him because the shots and product photography are just off the chain. Yeah, because he's just so great. And he really manages to capture the detail that you don't see a lot of times with these marketing photos. So, but anyway, that's kind of my answer. And I think the watch is for anyone. I mean, really, I would wear this watch.
Oh, for sure.
I would totally wear this watch.
I don't think it's not age
for any
particular. It's not gender particular. Yeah.
No, I think that a woman can easily rock this. It's probably not going to be the first choice for a lot of women because it is very, it's a masculine watch, no doubt. It's a masculine diver. But to me, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with it. If that's your style, that's what you go for. So, I think it's an incredible dive watch.
Awesome. All right. So let's talk about value.
Okay.
So at right around $1,800, do you feel like this offers a fair value?
I do. And I can say that now, having held watches in this price point, in this category. We've come into contact with Montas, with the Oris Aquas, with Fairer, some of these other divers. So I think we have a good idea of what the offering is. And I think this sits right there with them. Is it better than the other? I think you can't really compare all these watches in this price range. It basically comes down to, it doesn't come down to this watch is better than this. It comes down to what you like.
I agree.
The Aquas is in no way better than this. This is in no way better than the Aquas or the Manta Ocean King. I think it's just a matter of like, what is your design aesthetic? What are you drawn to? And that's what you have to pick between all of these three that people tend to go back and forth on a lot.
Yeah.
Because like they all pack a huge punch. They're all kind of the same quality wise. They all have different things that are features on the watch. So again, it just comes down to what you value as a person. But I think it's a very fair cost. I couldn't really think of a lot more offered, and it may just be my mind blanking a little bit. The Oris and the Manta Ocean King were kind of the top two, but I'm sure there's a lot more.
Yeah, it's a very competitive price point. That $2,000 price point, it's a heavily saturated market, but the watches that we've had experience with are so unique. It's hard to say that, I would pick one over the other based off of specs or details. It literally just comes down to aesthetic. What I like about the Reef Diver, there's nothing that looks like it, realistically. Like having that extra piece out there at the 9 o'clock totally separates it from anything else in this price point.
Yeah.
And I think that's very smart of them to have done. It's not something that you're going to look at and mistake for anything. And the bezel, the bezel just has this really unique look about it that just... It's perfect for this watch and for, what Formex is trying to do.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's very fair. It competes just as well. There are very subtle, high finishing, qualities that I can really respect and appreciate. And I think Formex did very well with this.
Yeah. And I think, you hit the nail on the head. The design choice here is different than anything else. The bracelet even kind of comes into that, because the bracelet is just something that I don't see a lot of, this kind of flat link type-ish. On a diver especially, you don't really see that. But again, I think all of these watches, whether we're talking about the Oris Aquas, the Manta Ocean King, or this Formex Reef, they all, each of them, and I think especially micro brands do it very well, is they don't look like anything else. There's a lot of brands out there that are just homages to something else, and there's nothing wrong with that if that's what you like and if that's the design cue that you want to stay with. But if you want something really unique, I think these are all really great watches, and the Formex, it does a great job at that, just being something different. That's not the run-of-the-mill dive watch that you normally see.
For sure. Definitely agree with that.
Well, so would this be a watch that would get regular wear in your collection? And what's your overall thoughts?
Yeah. I mean, overall, I'm really impressed.
Yeah.
I was, I thought it looks fine from photos. I thought it would be okay. But honestly, like really, really impressed. The subtle finishes, like what we've talked about, the degradé finish on the dial, I think for a sports like dive watch, you never really see. And I think it's a really neat factor. The green, it's fine.
Would you think that? What choice would you go with? The gray?
I'm literally playing on the website right now. So if you want my choice is the black bezel. And as much as I said that I want everything matched, but the black bezel and gray dial, because the gray,
that looks really good.
Yes, the gray fades into black right around the edge of the dial, and then tying into that black bezel.
Hold on
I
a
think
second.
It's fun.
I want to
I
want to pick mine.
Now we're customizing watches real quick, so you guys can hold on.
I really like the let's see. Because you had the gray dial or the black dial?
I had the gray dial with the black bezel.
See, I would go black dial and stainless steel bezel. Like, I like that combo.
Oh, this is a nice combo for sure. We'll just post pictures of these.
This is what we would pick.
But yeah, and the green is great. And like, it's one of those shades of green. It's olive in color, so it's not super green, which I can appreciate. Apparently, I just need to learn to love green, because green is I
thought you said
color.
You did.
I do.
It's
wishy-washy. Still not my fate. I
wishy-washy.
am wishy-washy. Sorry. That's what it is. But also, yeah, I do. I like it. I think it's a unique piece. There's nothing in my collection right now that looks like this. And I have a very heavy dive watch oriented collection.
Yeah.
And none of my divers look like this or feel like this on the wrist. So what about you, Kat?
I I came around a lot on this watch, and I'll be honest, I wasn't previous to this Reef watch. I wasn't a huge fan of Formex, and it wasn't anything to do with the brand. I didn't love their logo, which again they've changed. We didn't talk about, but
we'll
they actually
talk about this here in a bit.
Okay, but they added a logo. They actually have a logo now, and it's not just the Formex writing, which I really do like a lot. I like the design aesthetics that they've changed. Their watches before just design aesthetics, I don't know, I just wasn't drawn to them. But this watch is a little different, and I came into it with an open mind, and it really changed me on Formex as a brand. I think this watch is fantastic. I think the value you get for the price point is incredible, and I think you're getting a heck of a watch. And as far as me wearing it, I think it would be, it's tough because like you, I have a lot of divers, and I think this one for me would be really hard. That's why I kind of picked the stainless steel bezel. I think I would more likely something a little different. I don't love these darker bezels. I like a little bit of shine, and I think maybe the stainless steel would be a little better for me. But so if I was going to have one in my collection, that'd probably be the way I would go personally. But yeah, there's nothing wrong with these. They're just they're not my favorite. But yeah, I think it's a watch that I would wear, definitely.
Yeah,
it fits so like I was genuinely surprised when I wore this watch. I sized it, put it on the wrist, and I was like, dang, for such a big watch, 42 millimeters is not small by any means. No. A lot of people just knock it out of their mind because they're like, it's too big. I need something sub 40. But let me tell you, like, it wore so freaking well. It's big, but it's thin. It's like really thin, and it's proportioned just right. The lugs come down. It just hugs your wrist. And with the bracelet, it fit really, really well.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
Formex definitely surprised me with this one.
Awesome.
And thanks, guys.
Yes, thank you for sending this over. So what we wanted to do, because this is a little bit more of a particular watch, it's not something that, a lot of people can get hands-on access to.
Yeah.
And we'll probably start doing this with a lot of our reviews in general. It's just to answer a couple of questions that we had asked people to submit to us if there was something particular you wanted to talk about. So one of the questions is about the logo. So does the new logo work better?
Yeah.
100%. If you weren't familiar with Formex before, they used to just have a particular font that they would use. They didn't have a logo, and they would just have this font and writing Formex across the dial. And that's something we've talked about on the podcast before, like with one of their other releases that we just weren't a fan of. But now they have this really lovely logo. They've changed the font on it. Everything's just much more clean.
It's definitely cleaner.
I don't want to use the phrase like, I don't know. It looks more luxury this way. And I think when you're talking about watches at $2,000, luxury finishes matter.
Yeah.
Definitely
I agree with
matter.
That, for sure. Well, let's talk about this because it's something we brought up. Someone asked, they said it looks top heavy. Is it?
Yeah.
It is.
It's heavy. This is definitely probably the heaviest watch, like as far as the case by itself that I've ever,
including your Planet Ocean.
Yeah, it's definitely heavier than my Planet Ocean.
Yeah.
One thing that I would really emphasize is with a watch like this, it's really going to come down to bracelet sizing. Making sure that the bracelet I know it, and I see this a lot. People take all the links out of one side because it's just what's easier. And the clasp is unbalanced. And for lightweight watches, that's okay. But for something heavy, you really want to make sure that clasp is balanced at the bottom of your wrist.
Yeah.
And it's not even always taking the same number of links out. Like people's wrists are shaped differently. So really kind of pay attention to things like that.
Yeah.
And that'll make a big difference in making it like helping reduce like the amount of rolling it's going to do.
Yeah, and it's something we didn't mention. There is screw in pins in this watch, and it was really, really easy for me to size. I think with the micro adjust class, it's going to help people kind of zone in on the right size for the wrist. There also is, again, something I wanted to mention on the back of the lugs, the bracelet actually has like a quick adjust release, which is really awesome. If you do want to buy their rubber strap and kind of go in between both, it kind of makes it really, really simple to do that. Or if you just want to stick it on a NATO or something, which is also another option. But yeah, again, like Catlin said, you need to make sure it's sized pretty right, just because it is a heavier watch, and the heaviness has nothing to do with its wearability because it does still wear very comfortable. But go into it knowing it's a pretty hefty watch. Yeah. That's something we both really appreciate and like, but not everyone does. So
yeah, I definitely agree.
Yeah, we'll probably have one more question.
Yeah, let's talk about one more. Let's talk about bezel legibility because this is something that you had mentioned.
Yeah.
And while the bezel is probably my favorite feature, as far as practicality, no, it's not going to be the most legible bezel.
Yeah.
There is a great contrast, like if it's light and you have plenty of daylight, or you're outside, or, in an office, or with an overhead light, whatever, you're absolutely fine. Like the high polish against the brush is great, or against the matte finish. But right now we're recording in a dimly lit studio. And the bezel just looks like one solid piece.
Yeah.
So that's definitely...
Is there a loom pip at 12?
There is a loom pip at 12, yes.
That's good.
So if legibility is a big deal to you, it's probably not going to be the best option. But that being said, it does that thing where if you just kind of get any bit of light on it, like the high polish finish of the numerals definitely does reflect light pretty well.
Yeah.
So,
all right. Well, I think that about wraps it up.
Yeah. Head over to our website, www.tennn2.com. We will have show notes for everything that we talked about, some amazing photos, links to the Formex website. These watches are available for pre-order right now, so you can pre-order them. It looks on the Formex website, they're saying that January 2021 is the estimated delivery, obviously with everything going on and country starting to kind of shut back down. I would assume that could be delayed, but patience is, I think that's one thing that I've been amazed about this whole experience is people seem to be much more patient and understanding than you would think. So, and thank you to Formex for sending this over. This is just our genuine review. This is not paid or sponsored or anything like that. So, these are just our thoughts about it. So we appreciate you guys' support. Be sure to follow us along on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Tenn and 2 Media. And that's all, y'all.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.